I remember back in 2017 and 2018 when we talked about this topic, and then I was being accused of, conspiracy theory and ruining the fun for Christmas. I said, hey, if you get one of these 23andMe testing kits, throw it back or give it as one of these white elephant gifts or what have you, but get it out of your home. And people say, wow, that's really, that's terrible, blah, 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 ruining my Christmas. And I said, well, look, 23andMe, I remember somebody had shown me that you read in their little pamphlet, there's a warning that says that people might find unpleasant truths about their health or heritage. But the company said, well, we have the warning, but we don't know if anybody reads the warning. And another thing is we don't tell them in the fine print that their spit is going to be used for other things too. So I guess the question here lies in whether or not is it realistic for anyone to have an expectation of secret keeping in today's world of high-tech search tools and social media? Can anything or anyone remain a secret anymore? Does anyone have the right to expect that their secrets would or should be kept private? Do we as a society owe secret keepers privacy or protection? Does the right to keep a secret override the need for those created through secret or intentionally anonymous means to know their genetic reality? See, it's dangerous to be so open about your DNA because there is that possibility of your DNA and DNA of others being used in unauthorized experiments and biological gain-of-function exercises. And I had mentioned in the beginning of the show, there was this foreign policy conference, one of these world global gathering conferences. It was held in Aspen, Colorado. It was called the Aspen Security Forum. What the Aspen Security Forum is, it's an annual summer gathering of top-level present and former government officials from Homeland Security, counterterrorism groups. You have people in Congress, Senate, Homeland Security, defense ops, state ops, justice, the Department of the Treasury. There's intel people there, people in the industry. They don't specify what industries, but industry leaders, private equity investors, investment bankers, venture capitalists, financiers, people who are in think tanks who are thought leaders and influencers. And they also had nationally known print broadcasters, journalists, and they open it to everybody. It wasn't a secret meeting like Bilderberg or Davos. But it's just another gathering where people are in on the big secrets and big things are being planned, as I said. There was a guy by the name of Jason Crow. He was he's a Democrat from Colorado. He's a representative, U.S. Representative Jason Crow. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee, and he made some interesting statements that I wanted to review with you because it literally validated something that I reported back in 2018. This is what Crow said at the conference. He says, there are now weapons under development and developed that are designed to target specific people. That is what this is. It's where you actually can take someone's DNA, take their medical profile, and you can target a biological weapon that will kill that person or take them off the battlefield or make them inoperable. Given that threat, Crow added, it's troubling that expectations of privacy for personal data have diminished over the past 20 years to the point that young people have very little expectation of privacy and readily give their data to private companies such as DNA testing services. He continues, people will very rapidly spit into a cup and send it to 23andMe and get really interesting data about their background. And guess what? Crow goes on to say, their DNA is now owned by a private company. It could be sold off with very little intellectual property protection or privacy protection. He then added that the United States is going to have to create new guidelines for protection of personal health data, including DNA, because, he says, that data is actually going to be procured and collected by our adversaries for the development of these systems. And what he means by systems are tailor-made drugs and tailor-made biological weapons. Now, many people who listen to this show know that I have talked about this. You go all the way back to Clade X, before we even got talking about COVID-19, that there were ways by which we could tailor diseases by going into DNA databases that had been collected over the years by people like 23andMe and Ancestry.com and other groups. And so people who listened to the show back then, I was giving them the information, but a lot of people were saying, well, that's conspiracy theory. And, don't tell me what to buy my kids for Christmas. And don't tell me that if I do a spit in a cup or, a blood on in a syringe, that I'm going to have my DNA taken. Well, you have the DNA analyzed, and all of a sudden we have a new disease that can't be cured unless they give us the happy little jab. And even then it doesn't cure. Even then it's stuck with us forever. And then the Russian military says, oh, by the way, they were doing a lot of field testing in Ukraine, field testing of things like monkeypox, field testing of things like zoonosis, field testing of things like bird flu. And then, of course, when the war breaks out, everybody say, well, what about those biological weapons centers? Oh, they're not real. But then somebody else comes out, I think it was Kathy, what's her name, Newland. She comes out and she says that 46 biological research facilities have been in Ukraine, and they've been in, they've been used they've been used for the past 20 years. And, of course, the United States says, yeah, we worked with Ukraine, and Russia had some concerns, but it was all for peaceful public health projects. Nothing to worry about. But, of course, the Russians, the Kremlin, they were scared. They said, we don't like what we see here. And, of course, our propaganda said, they're just spreading this information and sowing mistrust. But are they really? I mean, it's no longer conspiracy theory if it becomes a concern for the Department of Homeland Security, and when it becomes a subject of one of the world takeover conventions or one of the security conventions by intel ops, both large and small. You have to pay attention to this, because the potential reach of the state into our individual biology and genetic makeup has expanded at an unprecedented rate. Global responses to new and emerging diseases have crystallized just how quickly and readily we have machines, algorithms, and other technologies that can be used, nanobytes, nanotech, graphene, whatever they shoot into the bodies. Genomic technologies exist, and they persist. And governments and increasingly private companies are ready now to sort, categorize, trade, and use biological data far more precisely than ever before. And this creates unprecedented possibilities for social and biological control. And there are a lot of people that argue that the new geopolitical order is going to be based on the commodification of a new resource emerging from the convergence of artificial intelligence and biotech industries. And we will be able to combine our biological and genomic data with machines. And thanks to government's ongoing efforts to build massive databases using emerging surveillance, DNA, biometrics technologies, Big Brother, all of his corporate partners in crime, it's all getting even creepier and more invasive. It's like we have DNA stalkers among us. Intrusive DNA stalkers. Every dystopian sci-fi film and horror film, for that matter, has seen all of this type of scary DNA sampling and bioharvesting converging into this present moment. It's a dangerous trifecta between science and technology and big business. Got to throw government in there too. It wants to be all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful. But of course, we're voluntarily allowing it by giving our spit, our blood, and our, number two to these databases.